Summer is coming to an end, but there's still so much going on at our homestead and a lot of food coming out of the garden. My garden is pretty much overgrown with weeds at this time of year, and overwhelm is really starting to set in.
This is going really well.
This week was spent preserving a ton of food, baking fresh bread on the cooler days, and making delicious meals for my family. We even have a few new additions to the homestead. So come with me this week as I prepare for winter and take in these last days of summer.
I decided to do crushed tomatoes just because it didn't take a lot of thought process and it was easy. These tomatoes are actually ones that were frozen. I forgot that I was trying to be a YouTuber again.
Oh yeah, that's right, you said so.
I did, but I forgot. And I did this whole thing. Don't worry, you guys. There will be more. There will be more tomatoes for you guys to watch me be overwhelmed in camp. So there she is. I'm gonna try to bring her up to a boil, boil her for a few minutes, and then we'll start canning this stuff. I gotta go find some more lids. And 2 tablespoons.
Canning crushed tomatoes was a really good option for me this day because I didn't want to have a difficult process of cutting multiple different vegetables. I pretty much just had to cut an X in the bottom of these tomatoes, boil them for a little bit, put them in an ice water bath, which I guess does kind of sound a little bit involved, but I promise it's not too bad. Take off the skins, and then I basically just crushed them, boiled them for a little bit just to kind of get rid of some of the water. I added 2 tablespoons of lemon juice for these quart jars. I got this recipe out of the Ball canning book. I'll link it in the description for you guys. It's kind of a must-have if you're just getting into canning, but whenever I can water bath can something, I really prefer that because I just feel like pressure canning is just a little bit more involved. It takes a lot more time. You have to bring it up to pressure, keep it at a certain pressure, then you gotta let it come down and you gotta let it cool off, and it's just like a whole ordeal. I'm
gonna add it to my broth bag, which is basically just a freezer bag that I keep all of my veggie scraps in. I've saved this. Once it's full, I make veggie broth and then I can that as well. These are veggie broths. This one I just put in today. I meant to can them, I didn't get around to it, so I just freeze them, and then when I'm gonna make like soup or something or a crock pot meal, I just thaw it out and then I make it. So
that's a smart idea.
I don't like to waste stuff.
Clearly.
Around these parts.
Yeah.
The chickens have gotten a lot of scraps today. Here you go. Are you guys full because I've given you so many snacks today? In case you're curious, this is going really well. So, yay me. Why? Why? Yeah, I know you're full. Yeah, I get it. Okay, we don't need to start a flood. Because then, oh, now I'm starting a fire. It's a flood or a fire. You know, it's really hard being such a hot mess. It really is. It's tough, okay? But someone's got to carry the torch, and it's me, so. You guys should start paying me because I'm literally the hot mess torch carrier. But here she is. That's it. This right here, this is several hours of canning.
One of my favorite meals that I love to make to use up any cherry tomatoes that I might have is this really creamy tomato pasta. So this is a dairy-free recipe. I think I've mentioned in other videos that we have a lot of different dietary preferences in our family. Some people eat dairy, some people are lactose intolerant, some people prefer to eat dairy-free. I know, it's a mouthful, but this is a dairy-free recipe. I will put the link in the description for you guys if you want to try it. I do want to add though that I don't really follow recipes. I more look up recipes kind of to use as an idea rather than a guide, if that makes sense. And this is just something that has come with cooking lots and lots over the years. I've probably been cooking for over 20 years now, so I can pretty much make recipes up as I go. My husband actually prefers when I do that because when I actually follow recipes, they tend not to turn out very well. So this next recipe is a really simple cucumber salad recipe, I guess you could call it. It's pretty much just sliced cucumbers, some sliced red onion. You could really use red or white, really just depends on what you like. And some white wine vinegar, salt, a little bit of honey, like a tiny bit of honey, and then some dill. It did recommend using fresh dill, but I just used dried dill because I didn't feel like going outside and picking dill for it. Have you been looking for a super easy bread recipe? Because you have just found it. We're going to do 3/4 cups of warm milk mixed with 3/4 cups of warm water. And then we're going to do 1 tablespoon of honey, 1 tablespoon of active yeast. Then I mix that all together, make sure it's incorporated really well, and you want to make sure that your liquids are lukewarm and not too hot. You set that off to the side and let it get frothy, and while you're waiting for that, you want to get your dry ingredients ready. So I'm just getting 4 cups of flour added to my mixer. This is a food grade bucket with a gamma lid. I can link it in the description. It's just from Amazon. It keeps all of our bulk dry goods nice and fresh. I add 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of salt. As you can see, these are very accurate measurements. Don't mess it up. I'm obviously kidding. Once your wet ingredients are nice and frothy, typically about 5 to 10 minutes depending on how warm your room is and how warm the liquids are, I just add it to my stand mixer. You can incorporate it by hand. I'm just really lazy. I have this really nice mixer, so that's what I use. So I just stir it, make sure that it's incorporated really well. At this point, I kind of have to see whether I need to add a little bit of water or not. You want your dough to be not super sticky but not too dry. It's a very delicate balance, and it's something that you will learn with experience, so don't be discouraged. I've ruined lots of loaves of bread, and even when it's ruined, it's usually still edible. It's fine. So I just sprayed my 2 baking pans. I always use 2 bread pans. I actually got these from Goodwill, and I just make sure that I spray them with some olive oil so the dough doesn't stick to it. And right here, I'm just shaping the bread. Typically, it isn't this tough. I don't know if I just didn't. I don't think I added enough liquid. Who knows? Like I said, I'm just winging this stuff, so not a big deal. Still turns out really good. So I'm just kind of shaping it, kneading it a little bit, and then I pop it in my bread loaf pan, and then I put the other pan on top. It kind of creates like a Dutch oven. Typically with a Dutch oven, you preheat it, but we're not even going to get into that. I set it off to the side. It was super warm in my kitchen. I think it took like 40 minutes to rise before I put it in the oven. All right, so today's going to be a pretty big preservation day. I wanted to make this bread because it's actually not super hot this week. It's like 70 degrees and it's been like upper 80s. So when it's a little bit cooler, I try to make my bread. But anyway, I'm gonna make a ton of stuff today, preserving wise. I just bought 2 more dozen corn from one of my coworkers. I have a new pressure canner that I haven't used. We are on a very tight budget, like very tight. So this was not something I wanted to buy. I bought the Presto canner. I think this was like $130 at Fleet Farm. I will link it in the description. This is definitely one of the cheapest options.
Buffy's. They have Buffy's. They have Buffy's.
Do they? Aww.
You guys are going to have to change this bedding probably every day.
I think this is good. Kind of really hot in here, so it's probably perfect.
But they're not staying in here, honey. Okay, so this is for the food.
Yeah.
So someone can start filling that up. You gotta mix grit in there, so you know how to do that. Okay, put it in here. Okay.
dip their nose. Go, go, go.
They do it? Okay.
Plus, they have feeders in there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's just, I still try to do it though.
Hey,
Just so
Buffy.
it's kind of hard to do sweets. They're so big compared to quail babies.
Go, 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 go. Good. The Rhode Island Reds are smaller. And they got little stuff on their beak.
They're like red, I saw.
That's why they're called.
Did it drink?
I think.
Okay. Hi, babies.
Looks like someone already pooped
They're
it.
very sweet. Hi, babies. Welcome home.
Welcome to your home. It's better than that.
Dad and I want to name one Hennifer. I was thinking McNugget.
Chicken nugget.
McNugget. Clearly, I was not planning on getting chicks today. My husband and I had talked about it. We really wanted to get either Americanas or Easter egg or olive eggers just to get a bird that lays different colored eggs. But then the more I thought about it, my husband and I kind of discussed that we love our 2 Buff Orpingtons. They are the greatest chickens that we've had. We've had Buff Orpingtons, Silver Laced Wyandottes, Cucamarans. But anyway, so those are the 3 that we've had. I called because I needed to get feed. The 2 Tractor Supplies that I called both had Buff Orpingtons. So I was like, well, I guess that's a sign. I got 2 Buff Orpingtons and then I got 2 Rhode Island Reds. I don't really know much about Rhode Island Reds. I know that they do lay brown eggs, which is fine. But for now, I'm going to can some green beans. This is my first time using this pressure canner, and I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I'm a little bit nervous.
Thanks, Muta.
Thanks, Tuxa. I don't know why I'm so nervous about using this canner, you guys, but I thought I would film it because I know I'm definitely not alone in being scared of a pressure canner. You guys can follow me on Instagram if that's your thing, at alyssas.homestead. Shared on there that I'm honestly afraid of this, and I don't know why. I'm even afraid of my Instant Pot though, to be fair, so we'll see what happens, guys. I canned successfully, hopefully.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am recording. Okay, watch out, sweetheart. Move, move, move. Hot, 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 hot.
You know, the viewers are gonna get.
Something new that I tried this year is braiding my onions for storage. I've never done this before, so I'm not even going to try to share a tutorial because I still don't know what I'm doing. If you can see right here, this onion, it actually started going to flower. And when this happens, that basically means that that onion is not going to store very well, which is why I put it off to the side. Definitely search up how to braid onion tutorials on the YouTubes, kind of like I did, because I am not your girl, not yet. But my oversimplified explanation is basically you take a long piece of string and you fold it into thirds and you make a loop and you kind of loop it around the base of the 3 onions, and then you use each strand and you kind of have it along with the strand of the onion. Does that make sense? And then you braid it, and once you're done braiding them, you kind of tuck the tail in so you're able to hang them. There's no way I could explain that, but here they are done. I am so happy with how they turned out, and they're so aesthetically pleasing. Another day, another preservation project, you guys. Today we are canning vegetable soup, which, let me tell you, honey, this was much needed because I just got over a stomach bug. If you follow me over on the Instagram, you probably already know that. It was brutal, you guys, but don't judge my carrots. Okay, I grew these. They're small and I wish they were bigger. That's what she said, but it just is what it is. And anyway, sorry, getting off track here. Speaking of getting off track, this is actually my scrap bag. You probably have seen it multiple times throughout this video. Canning is amazing for my scrap bag. I put all these scraps in here, put them in the freezer. I think I try to save 2 to 3 gallons of those scraps, and then I put them in a stock pot, cover them with water, and I boil them for several hours, like a gentle boil. You know, you could put them in a slow cooker, Instant Pot, whatever. They are so amazing. It makes such good broth. And since I had so many tomatoes, like tomato skins and just the cores from making these preservation projects this week, my broth was so delicious. And I also pretty much subsisted off of this vegetable broth for probably a full day after I had my stomach bug. It was truly a lifesaver for me. But anyway, right here I am boiling these tomatoes, just kind of blanching them really. Then I'm going to pop them in some ice water, which I didn't show here. And it really helps those skins just peel off. It's super awesome. Like I said, this is all food from my garden. The only thing that I did not grow in this soup is the lima beans and then the corn that my coworker's family grew. So this was actually a really rewarding recipe for me. It took all mother trucking day, you guys. Like, I cannot express to you how long this took. It took me 3 hours just to chop the vegetables for all of these. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Alyssa, why aren't you using a chopper? Well, here's the deal. My chopper is like dull and cracked and it's not doing well, but I also don't want to buy a new one because I know that knives work just fine. So someday when I grow up, I'm going to buy me a chopper that chops real nice, and this is going to hopefully take half the time. We're going to get a little personal, and I just want to share with you guys kind of like, why would I spend all this time growing this food, preserving this food? I mean, it is extremely time consuming, and I always talk about how overwhelmed I am, right? I am always overwhelmed. So why the heck do I do this to myself? And I want to take you back to 2020. We all know what happened in 2020, and I'm a nurse. Most of you probably know that at this point. And it was scary. I didn't know what to expect. You know, I had made plans to not come home. I had made plans to stay at a hotel. Somebody's relative owned a hotel that was going to allow healthcare workers to stay so that they wouldn't take the illness home to their families. And when all that happened, the shelves were empty, and I just felt so helpless in so many ways. And I have been gardening for a really long time, but that was truly the year where I was like, I really would like to be able to produce some of my own food. And obviously I can't produce that much of my own food, but with growing your own food and, you know, all the trials and tribulations that come with that, the education of learning how to grow your own food, you can learn it in a book, but really you learn more by doing. So that is kind of my little personal reason on why I started homesteading, and that's pretty common in the homesteading community. And this was also the year that we got chickens, and it's just kind of spiraled out of control since then, if I can be honest with you. And I don't know if everybody watching this video knows or not, but I live in the city. I live on just under a 1/4 acre. A lot of my yard is in the front yard, so I have about a 2,000 square foot garden in the back. And then I also have my chickens. I think that 2,000 square feet might also include our livestock, but that's pretty much the story on how this all began. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little story. I am so grateful that you guys spent time with me today and watched this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you missed last week's video, I will link it here on this screen, and until then, I will see you guys next week for another video.